This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Steve Goff. Now, from the mobile Duckett Brothers Distributing Studios at the stadium, this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show.
Coming to you from the warm confines of the Lansing Sports Network, this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. Let Price Right RV show you how to experience all Michigan has to offer in a new RV. It's time to get out and enjoy the outdoors. Visit Price Right RV in DeWitt on Old 27 and PriceRightRV.com. Don't plan your vacation. Own your vacation with a new RV from Price Right. Make sure you tell Doug and his team we sent you. I'm your host, Steve Goff from the Lansing Sports Network, joined by the Dean of Sports and host of Staudt on Sports, the radio show program. Weekdays from 10 to 1, Tim Staudt and also Alixzandra Jyawook from the Lansing Sports Network. The man holding it all together behind the glass is Brock Palmbush. We are here till 9:30 tonight in our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. They never drop the ball. Well, no real surprises, guys. I mean, 3-0 after week 3. It feels pretty good to have 3 wins so far. We talked on the show last week about the Youngstown State game being an easy game. And hold the presses. I believe the one person, the one voice of reason who kept telling Alixzandra and Tim they still need to treat it as an important matchup like all the others was me. Yeah. The Spartans needed every bit of the play they got. Youngstown State made it closer than a lot of folks expected it to be. And also in the process, the Spartans saw a few of their starters fall victim to injury. And not the ideal scenario heading to USC this weekend, and having players miss time during the Youngstown State game was supposed to be a luxury, not a necessity. So the Spartans lose Nick Marsh just before halftime, and RB1, Mekhi Frazier, and guard Luka Vincic in the second half. And then they saw injuries to offensive lineman Connor Moore and linebacker Brady Pretzlaff, who's a freshman and was playing very well. This MASH unit now has their work cut out for them in Southern Cal. Tim, offensively, the Spartans look like a well-oiled machine at many points, but now they're hurt.
Well, the big question I have is, can I stay up till the end of the game? That's my big question about this game. Furthermore, when's the last time I was up at 2:30 in the morning?
Well, of course.
And it might have been when one of the kids was born, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've been up at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock to go catch a 6 o'clock flight out of town, but that's getting up, not going back down. This is bizarre because I'd have to go back. I don't ever remember Michigan State football playing a game that ended Eastern time at 2:30 in the morning. That's the world we live in today, to get all these games through all the inventory of all these networks. And it just worked out weird this week because Fox got the last call, and if it wasn't going to be this game, it would have had to be Oregon State. They had an option on that.
Sure.
Well, would you take undefeated Michigan State, undefeated Southern Cal with a Los Angeles market? Or would you take a game that appeals only to one state, small population, and the game's going to be a 50-point game to begin with?
I bet Phil Knight would have picked the Oregon State
Well,
game.
don't worry, it was on TV, but it was on this afternoon, okay?
Yeah.
So that, look, it was a bad set of circumstances. Had Michigan State lost a couple games, then they would have been playing earlier today.
Yeah.
But because they've won 3 and Southern Cal's won 3, it made it appealing, even though the time in the Eastern time zone doesn't work very well.
It's going to be like this, though, right? I mean, going forward with all the with the new additions to the Big Ten, this probably isn't going to be a very rare thing anymore. It's probably going to happen.
Nobody's going to take. No network is going to try to take an 11 p.m. Eastern Conference time zone game for the simple reason that no matter who's playing, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Notre, whatever, you're going to be up till 2:30 in the morning. And that's if the game's on time.
Right.
I mean, heaven forbid it goes overtime or whatever the case may be. That
Have
makes
any
it a
weather
lot
delays?
I think it's an enormous disadvantage to Michigan State. An enormous disadvantage
Sure.
to Michigan State. Trying to get a body clock to and especially against this team. But it's what they got to deal with. Okay?
Why does Michigan State leave on a Thursday to get out there, do you
because
suppose?
Jonathan Smith, first of all, a lot of those players have never been very far from home. He wanted to take them yesterday to the Pacific Ocean. I think they went Thursday. They practiced Thursday morning, and then they left. He wanted to take them right to the Pacific Ocean because it's Southern California in all its glory, right? He didn't want to make this something because they got a lot of time to kill this week, Thursday, Friday, full days, and then all day today. So he almost got 3 full days to get for the game tonight. If nothing else, he's hoping that it's an adjustment to their body clocks physically that they got Friday to look, the teams coming west to east have the same issues too.
Sure.
Boston College just went 3 time zones to a bad Stanford team and got drilled. Okay, they couldn't adjust to 3 time zones against a bad team. This is a really good team State's got to play.
Yeah.
So he went Thursday so that they had a day to get adjusted to the West Coast.
And then they get to come back later on tonight or Sunday morning early.
Yeah,
and
they board the
just
plane
fly.
right after.
Yeah, I was talking to Will Tiemann earlier this week, and he said they're flying right out.
And they're going out of Los Angeles International at that time of night. Well, if they get done at 2:30, you're looking at minimum 2 hours to take off. So that's 4:30 our time. That's a 4 hour. That's 8:30 in the lunch. I mean, that's in the morning. But, you guys all wanted to play Big Ten football.
Come meet us at Flapjack in DeWitt. We'll be there.
You guys all wanted that media rights money to add those 4 teams on the West Coast. So this is what you get for it. And remember, UCLA's got to come out here and do the same thing.
Right.
Their body clock's 9 o'clock in the morning
Right.
because it's a noon game here.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's just one more factor that's going to affect, the Spartans later on tonight is that time change. What are your thoughts, Alexandra? Just body clocks being what they were and everybody being equal last week against Youngstown State. Your honest assessment of the Spartans' performance against the Penguins?
Well, I have enjoyed being the leader of the predictions, but unfortunately, it was certainly not my 30-7. I would say, the defense let Youngstown have a little bit more ball time than I would have liked. I think the offense did well. We actually saw Jack Velling come to play, which was nice because he's kind of been a little MIA on the field the past 2 games. We also saw Matt Golban, who is rated number 1 for his run and passing game, who has been a huge asset for us these past 3 games. But we will need to see some better starts and maintaining consistency because we're heading into Big Ten matchups. This is just the beginning of a tougher schedule for us, and we're looking to go 7-5, 8-4, and we need to be able to maintain that aggressive ball time and really limit what USC's defensive line can do on the field tonight.
Yeah, and I felt like, and I don't know, maybe all season it's going to be this way, with or without Mekhi Frazier and Nick Marsh. The weapons are so deep. The wide receiver room is so deep. The running back room is so deep. I don't think offense is going to be the problem no matter who we play, although USC is pretty stout, if you'll pardon the pun, up front. But defensively, against a team of their caliber, that makes me a little bit more nervous. You can't give up the mistakes and the big plays. And I was really surprised that there were a few big plays given up by Youngstown State. The linebackers, Jordan Hall and Wayne Matthews III, in their press conference, owned it. They said, look, we gave up quite a few big plays, and we got to shore that up this week. Well, boy, do they ever, Tim.
They're stepping up in class big time. If you get to what are the defensive keys of the game, where in the world do you start and where in the world do you stop? However, the number one thing tonight to me, if they have any hope of staying in this game, is they have got to get some kind of pass rush on that quarterback. Because the kid for Youngstown, let alone the kid for Boston College, you saw how effective they were when nobody rushed them because they're not good enough, all right? And then those linebackers got lost. But they got to play the game, all right? Now, Southern Cal, 2 of their wins have come against small fry teams, okay? I've seen them all their games. I thought they were the most impressive, frankly, at a poor Big Ten team because they opened at Purdue last week, but they were weather delayed 3.5 hours, and they got through that. And never one time Purdue's much improved, but never one time did I think Southern Cal is in trouble. They won 33-17. I think they could have won by more. They're always going to have good athletes. They're always going to be fast. The rap on them is defensively they have never been good enough to get to where they want to go. Michigan State is probably the best team they will have played thus far, if for no other reason than they're 3-0, and Michigan State has a mobile quarterback, okay? But you're talking about a lot of athletes. You know, the funny part of the Georgia Southern game they played, Georgia Southern took the kickoff, went right down the field and scored. But 73 points later, Southern Cal had them put away.
We were tying our shoes, and you ran the ball right past us. Now you're going to get it.
It's a fast team. They're loaded everywhere for who I've seen them play. But Purdue's not the best team in the Big Ten either.
I was going to ask you about that. I heard you talking about them during Staudt on Sports earlier this week. You said they were an improved team from last year. They seem to have gotten better. Do you think that they're better than Michigan State? Do you think they're of Michigan State's class
Purdue?
yet? Yes.
No. But they have a much better coach, in my opinion, than Barry Odom. He has 82 new players.
Wow.
There's no way in the previous world any coach could have come in there without the portal and because he had to get rid of all those guys. They were 1-11, and they were lousy the year before. So he brought in. Now, when you get 82 guys, they don't even know anybody's name. But they looked far more. Our middle one went to Purdue, worked in the athletic department there. So we have a Purdue connection. So we were up north in Charlevoix, so we're watching the game along with some of the other, Notre Dame and Texas A&M last Saturday night. And it struck. Purdue won 2 easy games, Southern Illinois and Ball State. So they're going to win those, right?
Yeah.
Now it gets tougher. But I think Purdue's good enough that they could win a couple of Big Ten games, and they're going to be far more competitive. And they were competitive. There were a couple of plays that just didn't go their way that had they gone their way, that game would have gone right to the wire. But it didn't, and that's football. And, that's the next thing for Michigan State tonight. Are they going to get some luck? Are they going to get any luck?
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Can you get luck in a game like this when you're a 17.5-point dog, or are you going to get bad luck?
Well, we're hoping for good luck, and we're hoping for good stats. What we're hoping for.
I think they need some good luck.
I agree.
Trouble with the snap good luck is what I'm hoping for with this game.
Whatever it takes.
That kind of good luck.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Luck and stats, and the Michigan State Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by our friends at Price Right RV and, of course, Duckett Brothers Distributing. The Spartans received no votes for the AP or college football coaches polls. Maybe that changes with a huge victory over USC tonight,
It changed with a 1-point win tonight.
Yeah, exactly. He continues to utilize the weapons at his disposal, but today his stat line makes up our Spartan stat of the game, brought to you by Schupan Recycling. Today's Spartan stat is 78% of the offensive yards with his legs, with his arms, once again, his one arm. He might be able to throw with both. Who knows? Once again, all over that field this season by choice and not by necessity. That's Aiden Childs. 270 passing, 76 rushing. Childs comprised 78% of the offensive output on his own. It's a nice luxury to have to a certain extent, but against USC, he's going to need all of that and more.
So they'll be looking for him. They've got tape, too. They've seen, The other thing to me, which is a question mark, State's played all their games at home. The Los Angeles Coliseum goes down in American lore as one of the well-known sports venues, from the Olympic Games to boxing matches to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay, so that place is a big-time place. There'll be a huge crowd there tonight because they're all into it because it's a Big Ten game, blah, blah, blah. I think it's different player for player, how you go from 3 easy home wins, and now we're playing a monster, and not let alone 3 time zones away. All of that stacked up, you look at all of the question marks that are there that have to be answered in your favor, or at least at a standoff, whether that happens or not. So in Childs, it may be unfair put it all on him, but he plays the most important position in sports, and he clearly has been a key in the first 3 games. He's made big plays. If he can make those plays tonight, that'll help him greatly.
And maybe home field advantage for him being a California kid.
Absolutely.
And that is your Spartan stat of the game, presented by Schupan Recycling. As leaders in metal and plastic processing at Schupan, their commitment to a better world goes beyond recycling. We're going to get you rolling with the Spartan Tailgate Show weather report in just a few. That's brought to you by our friends at Feldman Chevrolet. Meanwhile, you're listening to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, and we'll be back in our home studios, I guess you would call them, not the mobile studios right now. We're back at home finally, presented by our friends at Duckett Brothers Distributing on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. More next.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV. I'm Steve Goff, along with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Miss Alixzandra Jyawook. We're on the air with you till 7:30 from the warm and friendly Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Back in the 1987 MSU football season, MSU got to play and beat the snot out of USC not once, but twice. Probably could have done it 3 times given the opportunity. The star running back on that team was a gentleman who would go on to finish 4th in the Heisman balloting. I don't know why he didn't finish first, as well as first team All Big Ten. He also joined the MSU Athletics Hall of Fame in 2010, the College Football Hall of Fame in 2019, the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame in 2022, and the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame in 2023. Quite the resume. He also went on to be a Pro Bowl running back in the NFL, had a great career there too. He is joining us now. He's Lorenzo White. Lorenzo, thank you for joining us today.
How you doing, Steve?
We're doing great.
Tim? How's everything going?
Well, it's going pretty well. We're glad to have you, sir. It's been a minute since you've been on the airwaves up here, but it was great to have you with us. I was happy to see you supporting the Spartans just the other day at Spartan Stadium, and from the smile on your face, you look to be having a pretty good time hanging out with the fans here at MSU. What does being a Spartan mean to you?
Everything, me coming from Fort Lauderdale, I got so much improved coming there and not going to like any Florida schools. But it's truly the fans and the people that in Lansing, the way that they treat me. When I'm there, I feel like that's my second home.
Lorenzo, Fort Lauderdale, that's where you are, that's where you're from. That's a long way from Michigan State.
Yes.
Why did you decide to play football at Michigan State when you had other opportunities?
Well, because of the coach, and the coaches, put it that way. And when I got up there, and like I said, even like right now, how I get treated from the fans and, like I said, the people there. When I came to visit, that's the love that they showed me there, and I was just, one of those athletes that felt that I can do anything, anywhere, and so I made Michigan State my home.
Michigan State recruits a lot of Florida players, as you know, and every time they do, I always wonder what time of year do they make them visit? Because if you visit here in the wintertime and you're a Florida kid, that's an enormous adjustment because of the weather. Was the weather an issue for you playing here in November in that cold weather, or was that not an issue whatsoever with you, or was it a problem trying to get adjusted to it in any way?
Well, when I came to Michigan, when I came to Michigan State, my whole thing was, I had big dreams, and I believed in me, and because I worked hard, to be good. So when I came there, my whole thought was, if I want to go pro, I might go play at Buffalo. You just never ever know. You just never know. So that was in my head, to be able to get adjusted to playing in the cold, so in case when I go pro.
Well, the other issue was you played in an era with George Perlis where it didn't throw the ball around nearly the way they do today. If you would have played at Michigan State today, just think how fewer your attempts would be running the ball. Because, I teased Perlis for 1,000 years about throwing it more than once or twice or 3 times. One reason he didn't throw the ball was because you were dependable for him carrying the ball. Did you ever think about that very much and what it would have been like playing in a pass offense like all these schools have today?
And Tim, the funny thing, when you say that, right? So the offense that they're running right now is what I went to when I went to the Houston Oilers. So pretty much I got a chance to see on both hands, me running from the eye and me running from the one by set. So pretty much like what we were doing when they run and shoot, that's all they're doing right now. So I got a chance to do it, but it was just in the pros. But during my time at MSU and playing, my whole thing was about going to. I mean, with me coming out of high school was I want to go to somebody who's gonna run the football.
So my funny story, Lorenzo, about the Rose Bowl. Perlis was, with us on these tailgate shows for a number of years. And in some of those games at Spartan Stadium, Bobby McAllister and Andre Rison would show up. So I was teasing them about the Rose Bowl because George completed 4 out of 7 passes in the game and won the game. And Rison interrupted me. And he said, well, I'd go into the huddle, and I'd see they're going to run the ball again. And I'm man coverage, and I can beat my guy. And I told McAllister, I'll give you $100 if you change the play at the line of scrimmage. And McAllister said, I really wanted to do it, but if I'd have messed it up and got over to the sideline, George would have just tore my hair. I'll never forget he told that story, and George just laughed his brains out, if you remember some of that. Because just think, Lorenzo, suppose they would have thrown the ball to Rison in college the way they threw to him in the NFL.
Well, hey, listen. That's, the one thing that I can really truly say is that with Andre coming there, and like I said, just, Mark Ingram as well, we had some great receivers. And I know, we're coming to the huddle, so, I'll tell Andre, it's getting ready to cover your way, so get ready, right? So, the one play, that jump pass that Bobby did.
Yep.
Bobby did to Andre, like when he's going. I mean, that right there shows you the type of offense that we could have had, with the passing, with the passing attack. Because I always tease Andre. I said, you might not have a lot of catches, but I bet you your percentage for deep balls. I mean, when you get it, it's going to be close to a touchdown or it's going to be very long. So I said, your yards per catch was very good.
It was. But I think George took that strategy, as you know, Lorenzo, because with you running the ball and not turning it over, that was a Rose Bowl team, and the way he did it, which he always told me about, that was a Rose Bowl team running the ball with you running the ball 5,000 times a game, right? I laugh at. I always laugh at George because I think the night that we played Indiana, right, and he was trying to get me the ball to break the record for the most carries in a game, and I told Coach that it's okay. I think he always felt some way because that game that we had at Indiana, the one time when I had 280 some yards, and he took me out the game two plays after the half, and I was done. He was like, well, we can break every record, and I think that was he always felt guilty about that, and. I just laugh at George because this is how he was. He called timeout, right? So I'm thinking, and he told me to come to the sideline. So I come to the sideline. So I'm thinking he's going to tell me something really, really serious, right? George says, I just want to know if you're tired. I said, Coach, so we called timeout? So you asked me, am I tired? He said, yeah, I just want to know. I said, no, Coach, I'm not tired. He said, you're a liar. Get back out there and run.
One of the all-time best to do it. One of the all-time best to do it at MSU, Lorenzo White, making us laugh, too. Our guest on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show.
Hey, Lorenzo, thanks for joining us. Hey, you had mentioned earlier with the offense when you came into MSU, it's similar to how this team is today. What do you see in the Spartans that we have on the field, and what kind of grit and lessons do you see with those guys today on the field?
Well, I mean, just, I was able to come up to 2 of the games and, just watching what we have. I mean, I like what I see. I like the toughness that the running backs run with. And, our quarterback is, I mean, when you look at what we're doing and our strategy and thing, it all comes down to him. And, he can be one of the talented quarterbacks in the country, and I already see that when he's playing. So I just think that what they got going good, and and I think about that, because I think about he's a little different than Warren Moon, but when I'm thinking about the quarterbacks, I know how important it is in that in the one back offense. Like I said, because I played in the run and shoot, so. I just think, the good things that I seen, when I was there,
right.
The game in Western that, sometimes, before we normally lose those games, but, that just showed me the grit that they had and the hard work that the coaches are putting into them and the kids buying into it.
What do you do today, Lorenzo? What are you up to these days?
Well, I'm right now. I'm going home. It's like kind of hot, so I gotta have to go to a memorial service this weekend. So I'm getting ready to fly out to Atlanta for that.
I mean, are you working in the?
That's what I'm doing.
Are you working in the?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Take care of the kids. That's about it.
So you played in the first night game in Spartan Stadium. And you played in the Rose Bowl, which went right down to the wire against the same team. Does either game stand out to you more than the other game, and if so, why?
Every game to me that's dealing with any success and the things that I like would have been that Labor Day.
Right.
I mean, that night game.
Yep.
I mean, the excitement because we never had any lights in Spartan Stadium. We never played a night game.
Right.
And USC was coming to town. So, I mean, if you're any type of athlete, you understand when you got a team that come from the coast, the West Coast, and USC, and their history. So you have to get up for those type of games, and I just have to say, not just the team. I'm talking about everybody in Lansing and everybody, like the fans and everybody that came to the game. I mean, that game was electrifying because, like I said, no lights ever in Spartan Stadium, but first time.
I've often said the 2 most memorable games that I've been to at Spartan Stadium dating back 200 years was the 10-10 tie with Notre Dame in '66 and the opening game in '87 with Southern Cal because it was the first, and was on Monday Night Football. If you remember, ABC needed a game for Monday Night Football because the NFL season was starting a week later, and they chose Southern Cal, Michigan State. And that the place was packed to the rafters. There was fireworks. Lee Greenwood was there to sing.
Sat me back in there.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing was there. So it was and the Rose Bowl. First of all, anytime you're in the Rose Bowl, it's so spectacular. But that State had an early lead. Southern Cal came back. John Langlow kicked a field goal late and won it 20-17. I mean, it was a dramatic start and finish. And ironically, tonight State's playing Southern Cal, and you had them twice in the same season, which rarely ever happens, right?
Yes, most definitely. Like I said, especially a team with their tradition. I mean, like I said, SC. I'm just saying, like for me, I'm thinking about all the Heisman trophies and all the people that all the top players that they had come out of there. I mean, even when before I even came into came into college. So, I mean, to play against a team like that, it was like I said, it was just electrifying.
That's Lorenzo White, one of the all-time greats at MSU. Lorenzo, I wish we had a whole day to talk to you. I love hearing your stories, especially when you start laughing about Coach Perlis, and all the success in the future to you, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Time for another break as the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show rolls along. He's the Dean, she's the Rose between two old thorns, Alexandra, and I'm Steve, and this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV from our studios, presented by Duckett Brothers Distributing. We'll be back with more on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, after this.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. We are live from the Pine Tree Road Studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. All right, you two. Today marks the 9th meeting between Michigan State and USC in a series that began in 1963 in Southern Cal. Tim Staudt, I can honestly say this is not poking fun. It's before I was born, and it's before you were born, but he was right in the middle of it. A 13-10 loss, Tim, followed the next season by a 17-7 victory, and that was a home-and-home series, and the teams traded some wins and losses over the years. The last 3 meetings have been victories for MSU. 27-13 on September 7th of 1987. Of course, we just talked to Lorenzo White about that one. Later that season in the Rose Bowl, and again, our friend Lorenzo White and company beat them for the second time in one season, 20-17 in Pasadena. The last time was in the Sun Bowl, December of 1990, as George Perlis' Spartans pulled out a close 17-16 victory in El Paso. MSU was 22nd in the country, and USC was 21st. You remember that game, Tim? Courtney Hawkins, Dan Enos, Alan Haller had a fumble recovery that set up a touchdown. There was something else that happened in that game, too.
Well, the 2 games in the 60s, first of all, I'm a teenager. In 1963, Michigan State went to Southern Cal, and State was good, and Southern Cal was good. And the 13-10 final, Southern Cal won it. In those days, it was a night game, and State stayed overnight. And after the game in the hotel, Michigan State President John Hanna called Duffy up to his room saying, I need to talk to you. Mm-hmm. So Duffy sat down, had a beer, whatever it was, and he said, Father Hesburgh called me from Notre Dame. He wants to hire you as the head coach. Notre Dame was coached by Joe Kuharich at the time, who went on to the NFL with Philadelphia. They were struggling. They wanted to get back. Now, Duffy was an arch-Roman Catholic. And Hanna said, and Hanna had a very close relationship with Father Hesburgh at Notre Dame. And he said, I have to tell you this. Father Hesburgh wants to hire you to be the next coach at Notre Dame. So after that, Duffy paused for a few moments, and Hanna said, before you answer, I cannot let you leave Michigan State. It is as simple as that. I cannot let you leave Michigan State. My personal opinion is, in the aftermath, had Duffy had to do it over again, he would have taken the job.
Really?
I do, because I think that he felt that he didn't get along with the athletic director, Biggie Munn. Michigan State's facilities were brutal compared to the other Big Ten schools. Notre Dame was Notre Dame. I think the Roman Catholic tie-in was a factor there. But Duffy had such respect for John Hanna that he didn't know how he was going to say no to him. So Notre Dame had to struggle with Eric Parseghian.
Did they struggle,
so
really?
That's how they hired.
I think that was sarcasm.
Then the 67 game was a guy came in. It was going to be a close game, and Southern Cal introduced a new back named O.J. Simpson.
Never heard of him.
And O.J. Simpson came in here and absolutely, and State played its ever-loving brains out that day. But Simpson was like Lorenzo White, and he ran for more than 200 yards, and Southern Cal just hung on to win it 21-17. That year was my it was my freshman year at Michigan State. It was a cold, gray day. I mean, I remember, well, nobody knew who O.J. Simpson was, but boy, did they know by the time
figured it out.
They figured it out afterwards. They were a great team, and he was a great running back, as everybody knows. So those two I remember the best, plus the 287 games. So that's 4 out of the 8.
That's pretty good so far.
The last one was in 1990.
Yes, sir.
Which one was that? That was here?
That was in El Paso.
Oh, that was the bowl game, and State won that game.
They won, and our friend Tico Duckett, who's going to join us later on today, was in that game as well. Former MSU all-everything Alan Haller recovered a fumble in that game that set up a big touchdown pass from Dan Enos
that was
to Courtney Hawkins.
17-16, was that the score?
Yes, the final was 17. Now, here's the pattern I'm seeing, Tim. This is I don't know if you'd call it a storied rivalry, but it's pretty solid. It's 4-4, the two teams over the years, and every game has been very tight and very closely contested.
Well, in today's modern world, if Southern Cal was not in the Big Ten, I don't think they'd ever play unless it was in a playoff or a bowl game, because they don't want to play each other because it's a chance to lose. But in the conference, if it's a conference game, then you're assigned to play that game. So he won't play every year, but they'll play, every other year, whatever, home and away. So in 4 years, they'll probably be back out on the West Coast because they'll alternate with Oregon, Washington, and UCLA. But in today's world, they want to play Youngstown State. They don't want to play Southern Cal. The only reason they're playing this game because it's a league game. This was a non-league game. It wouldn't have been scheduled. Southern Cal don't want to play it either, but it's a league game, so now that changes the dynamic. So you'll see a little bit more of this. And like Lorenzo says, yeah, that's a story. Southern Cal, that's a big name in college football, a huge name in college football.
The thing that I think stands out from the last time that they played, which was 1990, almost 36 years ago, crazy. There was a guy named Todd Marinovich who was pretty highly touted. There's a whole documentary on him. Alexandra, have you seen that on Netflix about Todd Marinovich?
It is on my watch list.
I'll tell you what, that poor kid from an early age his father was bound and determined to get him to be the next big thing in the NFL. And it's a tragic story. Thank goodness it turned out okay toward the end. But my goodness, he got into it with his coach on national TV. Do you remember this, Tim?
No, I remember the name him.
Todd Marinovich got into it with his coach, Larry Smith. And then a month or so later, he was arrested for cocaine possession and began a quick trip to a downward spiral that he ended up coming out of, thankfully. But lots of stories and twists and turns with Todd Marinovich, and that was the game where the last time the Spartans played them, 36 years ago since they last met.
Well, look how many great players through the years have played at Southern Cal.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Brock knows how many Heisman Trophy winners do they have.
They
got more than Michigan State, I know that. I don't know how many Heisman Trophy winners they have.
I think they have double digits, yeah.
Or Matt Leinart, most recently, Reggie Bush. Who just got
former Lion. Yeah. There's the list is a mile long. Rodney Peete, I think, played at USC, didn't he?
He did. He played in both the 87 games. He played the Labor Day night game here, played well.
Yeah.
And then he played in the Rose Bowl. Lorenzo scored 2 quick touchdowns, and they were up, I think, 17-3, if I remember this. And, Georgia's just running the daylights out of it. Like I said, they only threw 7 passes the entire game. But the one of the 4 was a monster that he hit Rison on a jump pass down the sideline late. But Southern Cal tied it, and then John Langlow kicked a field goal with 4 minutes to go, and State made a couple of stops and got a turnover late, and they held on to win at 20-17. Larry Smith was the coach at Southern Cal then.
Right.
But in those days, you didn't have the passing like you do. And Southern Cal was the same way. They ran it.
What does that say about Lorenzo White? Since we did just have him on the show, Tim, we didn't get a chance to ask you your thoughts on what you've seen of Lorenzo. How did he stay so healthy with being such a workhorse here for Perlis and
Michigan State centered everything it did about running the ball. I mean, the offensive line was a huge key to George. They put a back next to him in the backfield to block for him. And to some degree, got a little bit lucky because the game he's talking about, he carried it 56 times. George's line after the game, he said, I'm not worried about Lorenzo being mad at me for being tired. I'm worried about his mother getting mad at me that we ran him 56 times in the game. Now, don't get me wrong. If he wouldn't have been effective, or if he would have said he's tired, or if he would have turned it over, or if he would have got injured, then he wouldn't have carried it as much as he did. But they went to the Rose Bowl with that philosophy. The other thing in the 87 season, which you'll never see again, the non-conference games were Notre Dame, Florida State, and Southern Cal.
Wow.
You think you'll see that again?
Probably not.
And as I say to people, they went to the Rose Bowl with that schedule.
Man.
They went 1-2 to start because they beat Southern Cal, got beat by the next two, all right, and then ran it all off through the Big Ten. He's talking about, that was another classic way that season ended, too, because the day they beat Indiana to clinch the Rose Bowl berth, they had a memorial funeral service over here at St. John's Student Center for Duffy Doherty, who had passed away in August. But he was in California. That's where he lived, so the funeral was out there. But the morning of the game with Indiana, George wanted to have, because then everybody was going to be in town for the game, so he had a 10 a.m. memorial service for Duffy Doherty at St. John's Student Center, and the game was at 4 o'clock.
Jeez.
They had every big-time coach anywhere was in town, including Duffy's staff was there. I'll never forget at the end of the service, because Duffy was Irish, they had a singer sing Danny Boy. And I'm telling you what.
Not a dry eye in the house.
It was tough for all those guys. And then they went over and played the game, and State won. And that was the game that Bill Mallory, the Indiana coach, came into State's locker room after the game because he liked George. And State crushed them, 27-3, I think. And he told the Michigan State team, which has been on video 5,000 times, to go out there and kick their butt because we're sick and tired of the Big Ten losing in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And George never forgot. And when Bill Mallory got fired, I think George was madder about it than Bill Mallory was at Indiana.
Wow.
So,
well, it's amazing that Lorenzo didn't have more injuries in his career, and injuries have been a huge part of Michigan State, good and bad, the last couple of years, Alexandra. With Mekhi Frazier and Nick Marsh injured, what does MSU need to do to stay competitive in light of those injuries today?
Yeah, well, Coach Smith has said that he's big on prep, and what we've heard over and over from the press conferences, from the media conferences, is that he is focusing on this next man up mentality. And really what that looks like, we've got 2 weeks from our next big game, and we have this big game tonight. And we do need to rest our key players, but that does not mean that those players that are not necessarily identified as a key player can just be, dismissed in this mentality. It's when your number is called, you are a key player and you execute like you're a key player. They're hoping that there will be no fall off when these key players come back. And when it comes to the actual practice that we've seen and the way that Coach Smith has involved all of his team, these past 3 games have allowed us to see a lot of rotation and a lot of depth that are going back with all of the second and the third string players that we've seen. So for us, we're hoping to continue that next man up mentality tonight. Obviously, we do have some injuries that we'll talk about later in the show, but right now we're really hoping and rooting for these guys that they continue with that mentality and that they have the support from all of the Spartan Nation behind them with that next man up mentality.
Yeah, well, whatever happens tonight, it's not going to come easy to MSU. Last weekend, though, there were times when they made it look easy, and that brings us to our Coors Light making it look easy play of the game. This one from explosive MSU transfer Omari Kelly.
Snap from Byron Floyd, who transferred in from Pitt and Buffalo. Good snap. And here's the boot. Fielded on the 13-yard line. Omari Kelly up the right side. Cuts back to the middle. He's at midfield already. At the 45-yard line of Youngstown State. Down the far left sideline at the 15, at the 10. And he's tripped up at about the 4-yard line. Omari nearly took it to the house.
Now, for the second straight week, Omari Kelly is in position to make a pivotal play for MSU, and after nearly taking that punt to the house, the next play was made even easier for running back Brandon Tullis, who rushed 4 yards untouched for the MSU touchdown.
And that is our Coors Light making it look easy play of the game. Coors Light presents to chill or not to chill. Choose chill, choose Coors Light for the party.
All right, now we talk about Omari Kelly, we talk about Tullis. Those are 2 of the guys that are probably going to have to step it up big time this weekend.
They all do, in my opinion. If you get on the field in this game, can they get a similar couple of punts like they got against Youngstown State
Sure.
or Boston College where they got to go 95. That's huge.
Yeah.
Because they're probably going to have to punt the ball.
Oh, yeah.
They're probably going to have to punt the ball. So is Southern Cal going to go the length of the field, or do they only have to go 50, 60 yards off a turnover or off a personal foul that creates a first down? I mean, a lot of things when you're an underdog like this in this environment, you got to have a lot of guys. You know, one mistake by one guy can kill it for everybody. Same thing with Southern Cal. But if Michigan State's punter can make them go longer than they're used to going, that obviously gives them a better chance to have success, right?
Well, fortunately for us, our punter has shown us some strong opportunity heading into tonight. So
The guy's got a crazy spin on the ball. He somehow finds a way.
he likes his celebrations on the field, his little swaggy walk
his,
that he actually does.
He looks like his arms are made out of spaghetti noodles. I don't know.
Brock's doing it too.
But I'll tell you, Brock's doing it behind the glass. Look at him go.
You'll hope you don't have to use him very often.
Well, but he becomes the 12th man for that defense is what happens. That's Ryan Eckley, and he probably will be a big part of the game today.
Before we go to break, Steve, there are 8 USC Heisman
8
trophies.
USC. Okay,
Yes.
pretty close.
Caleb Williams, the most recent one.
There you go.
3 years ago.
Well, we shut him down. The Lions did last weekend.
I don't know who he just said.
I don't know. And we don't talk about the
Yeah,
Chicago Bears.
okay.
This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show presented by Price Right RV on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. He's Tim. She's Alexandra. I'm Steve, and we're glad you're here with us today. Kickoff at 11 tonight. We're here till 9:30. Back to kick off hour number 2 of the show from the Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by Duckett Brothers. After this.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show presented by Price Right RV. I'm Steve Goff along with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, and Miss Alixzandra Jyawook on the air with you till 9:30 from the warm and friendly Lansing Sports Network studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Speaking of the Duckett Brothers, how cool is this? Live, local, and late breaking. We've got one of them joining us in the studio right now, former Spartan running back and now co-owner of Duckett Brothers Distributing, Mr. Tico Duckett.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
In the flesh, Tim.
Here we are.
He still looks like he's in shape to
No
play.
kidding.
man.
You might need to suit up.
Yeah, put me on the 1 yard line. I think I can get in. I
Heck
really
yeah.
do, you know.
Do you
I
ever
like it.
have any aches and pains from playing all those years?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or is that just from getting older? That's mine.
No. I've had hips resurfaced and all sorts of things with my body, but I'm healthy now, feel great.
That was from football?
That was from football, absolutely. But, after getting, running almost 5,000 yards, you're due for some sort of surgery after that.
So refresh my memory. Did you play on artificial turf in Spartan Stadium?
Our artificial turf was as thin as my phone.
I remember
and,
it.
And it was cement under that.
yeah.
No cushion.
I remember that.
I know. You had to. I learned how to fall. And
Wow.
it was new. It was new technology as far as the field is concerned.
Because when you walk on these fields today, it's
they're
unbelievable.
soft.
It's like a trampoline.
Right. And luckily that's saving a lot of knee injuries because with the turf I played on, once you planted your foot and tried to cut, if your body didn't cut with you, it was surgery time.
Well, you look like you can play again.
Well, thank you.
Good for you.
Now make sure you get right up on that
Thank
microphone
you.
so we can all hear your golden tones.
All right,
The
all
guy
right.
certainly doesn't have a face for the radio either. Would you say you're the better looking of the Duckett brothers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll take that one.
I hope Todd hears that.
Does anybody still call him TJ?
A lot of family members still call him TJ, but he likes other people to call him Todd because that's, if you know his story, he was TJ, the football player. Then when he was done playing football, he was always TJ, the football player.
Yeah.
So he wanted to be Todd. He's a new person. He's got new goals.
Yeah.
And so in public, he likes Todd.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What do you remember, Tim, from watching Tico on the field?
Well, I mean, he's a Perlis-type running back. He was a durable back in a running era. if you were playing in this era, you wouldn't have run nearly as many times as you did.
That's correct.
And in that era too, dating all the way back to Duffy, Michigan State had some tremendous running backs because that's what they wanted to do, was run the ball with terrific running backs. And Todd was that way, exactly the same way.
Sure.
I mean, he's forever going to be remembered for one play.
Yes.
He's forever going to be remembered for one play. And if you say Todd Duckett, to some people they don't, but if you tell them TJ, they know exactly who you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So I tease him about that. That's the kind of the dilemma that you have in all that.
Yep.
But, we had Lorenzo on. You were like Lorenzo because you were durable.
Sure.
And you were reliable, and the coaches at Michigan State all through these years wanted to run the ball like crazy because that's how you won.
Sure.
Because that clock's always running if you run the ball well.
Absolutely.
Who were your quarterbacks at State?
Jimmy Miller, Dan Enos, Mill the Thrill for a year.
Mill the Thrill.
Mill the Thrill.
Was he a good guy?
Yeah.
He broke my heart because it was the year after I graduated from DeWitt. He led Farmington Hills Harrison to a state championship and beat DeWitt by 1 point.
Really?
Missed extra point from DeWitt.
No. Heartbreaker.
And he was quite the quarterback.
Yeah.
And then he came to Michigan State and was kind of an all-purpose.
Yeah, he turned out to be all-purpose, running back, quarterback, receiver. Yeah, he did it all.
Does Michigan State ask you to do much for the university or the athletic department these days?
It depends. We try to do as much as we can with recruits. That's the main thing. And that's something that Todd and I are working on right now to establish that's what we're doing for the university, is to bring in recruits and, show them the culture and what Michigan State is all about. So that's going to be what we're going to focus on moving forward.
Do you like the way college athletics look today with the struggles there are?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't see, there's no more loyalty. There's no more progression and development of players, and you can't push players these days or they're going to transfer. So you really can't coach a kid, and it's difficult for the coaches because back in the day you could really coach a kid and get in them and get what you need out of them, and then you'll have success at the end. But now once you start getting after a kid, they feel like, wait a minute, I can go over here and transfer and play and possibly make more money.
It's almost like in order to be a successful coach these days, you have to maybe completely undo what you've been taught your entire life because you're much older than the students and athletes that you're coaching. How would somebody like George Perlis have handled this environment these days?
I don't know if George would have been as successful as he was because he was more, toughness, forget the X's and O's. Let's just be tough. We're not passing. If we pass the ball one time, that's one time too many. So I don't know if he would be successful in this era. But running was definitely the dominant thing that George liked to do, and he would get running backs like me that want to carry the ball 35, 40 times a game.
Ground and pound.
And you just get stronger as you go.
Did you get your degree on time?
Oh, yeah, with in education. So I'm definitely, and I didn't use it. This is the story. I ended up playing for the Giants first year, second year Redskins, and I came back, and my counselor said, "Well, Tico, you'll start out at $35,000." And I said, well, I was making that every 2 weeks, And so I immediately I got to find something to do. And I ran into Ken Patenji, who owned Woolard Corporation, big Spartan. And he basically said, Tico, what are you doing? I said, I don't know yet. He said, come work for me. I started working for him, moved up through the company, ended up being a purchasing agent, and I saw all the janitorial supplies that we're purchasing. And a light came on and said, Tico, you could start your own company and sell these janitorial supplies. And I told Ken Patenji that, and he said, I'll be your first customer. I knew you weren't going to stick around here long. And it went from there. Opened up Tico Duckett Distributing at the time. Started selling to Ken Patenji. Then John Dimmer heard, hey, what are you doing, Tico? I heard you doing janitorial. I'll buy from you. And it just kept going. And, of course, with the work ethic, you outwork everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And then 2008, Todd came on board with Duckett Brothers, changed it from Tico Duckett to Duckett Brothers. And it just, 27 years later, here we are. And, that's how I got into the business.
Excellent.
Did you see yourself coaching at all when you were playing?
I did, but I always saw how hard coaches worked, and there were times where they wouldn't see their family, and I just didn't want that. And I saw that you could, work 1 year for a team, get fired, had to move to some other, and then now you're dragging your family around. So I just didn't want that life. But I love coaching. I'd coached for Hazlitt for a little while, and, just the knowledge that I have, and the kids don't have that, and when you pass that along, it feels good.
Who else recruited you?
Well, quite honestly, Tim, I had a letter from every single university in America, and I didn't know what to do. I had 2 shoeboxes full of letters, and my father said, Tico, choose 5 and throw away the rest.
Wow.
And I did. I chose Indiana because they had Anthony Thompson. He was the Heisman guy. Chose Pittsburgh because they had Ironhead Haywood, and Dorsett went there. I chose Western Michigan because it was in my backyard. And I chose Michigan, obviously, because it's Michigan, and Michigan State. And a lot of the factor was I wanted my mom to be able to come see me play. So I wasn't going to go to Alabama. I wasn't going to go to UCLA. I was going to try to stick around the Big Ten in driving range for my family.
And wasn't TJ close to going to Notre Dame?
Yes, TJ was close to going to Notre Dame, and then when Bobby Bowden showed up at the house, he was going to go to Florida State, and then Michigan was really so he ended up bleeding green.
Because Nick kept telling me all the time, we're after him. I think we can get him, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And then when he got him, he wanted to make sure he's into school and blah, 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 the whole deal. And, it was so much more complicated with a provost in those days and entrance exams and all that. And today you don't hardly see that at all.
Right. You don't. I mean, especially with the transfer. You can just transfer all these different schools, and I don't know how they follow the kids.
So on that note, earlier you had mentioned that your role and what you're trying to establish with your brother and you guys' presence within the university is recruitment and really, bringing the boys to the university. You can't, coach the kid anymore, right? And that's something that you said. So for your role, how do you anticipate either being a mentor or being a guide to these boys without breaking their spirit, without pushing them to transfer, but there is some sort of old coaching that you have established within you?
Well, I think the biggest part is going to be close the gap. Get to know the kids, have them feel comfortable,
right?
Have them get to a point where they've visited, maybe 9-10 times in a year before they make a decision. And then once they get comfortable, then that's all I'm trying to close the gap. We're here for you.
Yeah.
We're here for you. You might be coming from Florida or Texas, but you've got, Spartan families here for you. And I think that's going to be the main thing that will drive to the kids. And obviously, we hope we have a good program.
Yeah.
We hope we're winning. And then I think just closing the gap, letting them know that they have someone on campus or a group of people on campus that have their back.
And how often do you see, how many visits on average does it take before you can start actually kind of getting an influential role into them? Or when you start to feel like, okay, I've got a temperature gauge on these guys, because I'm sure right now everybody's got a shoebox of offers.
Right.
It's this, that, and the other, right?
Well, the goal is to get a high-end recruit to the campus 10 times a year. So after that 8th time, you probably will start getting a feel of, After 8?
8 dates?
8. You got 8 dates.
I was going to say, all right.
but that's the time. That's all you got.
Wow.
And so that's why you have to have, intentional visits and close that gap.
Well, hey, however we can help out.
Okay.
He's Tico Duckett, 1990 Big Ten Offensive MVP, number 3 all-time in rushing yards, and a damn handsome man.
Hey.
Thanks, Tico.
I appreciate you guys.
Go green.
Go white.
Time for another break as the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show rolls along. He's the Dean. She's the rose between two thorns. Alexandra, I'm Steve. And this is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV in our studios. Brought to us by Duckett Brothers Distributing. We'll be back with more on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker, next.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
We're back on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV from our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. I'm Steve Goff. With me are Tim Staudt and Alixzandra Jyawook. The man behind the glass is Brock Palmbush. Tico's in here still, too, so he might jump on the microphone. Watch out. Our friends at Playa Bowls are this season's proud sponsor of our drive of the game, and I think it's got to be MSU's second touchdown, Tim and Alexandra and Tico. Their first scoring drive of the game, they took just over 6 minutes off the clock. This time they took 12 plays to drive 87 yards, and that included back-to-back passes from Childs to Marsh to the tune of 27 of those yards, and a big catch from Jack Velling for 16, but the touchdown came from the backfield.
Fouls under center. Toss sweep, Frazier running right to the end zone, on his feet, into the end zone. Touchdown, MSU!
A great run by Frazier there. This is just big boy football there. This is meat on meat. My guy's better than your guy. You know, we're going to go in there. And good job by Frazier of knowing where that goal line was, sticking his foot and getting north and south for that. Good job on the outside by the tight ends and the linemen blocking.
That's Mekhi Frazier's 5-yard touchdown run, putting a cap on the drive of the game, presented by Playa Bowls. Playa Bowls, grab your friends and dive into Playa Bowls, where the beach meets the bowl. Your thoughts on the drives last week, Tim? Did Michigan State impress you with their drives and taking time off the clock and control of the game?
Well, as was pointed out, Jack Velling makes a difference when they get to him as a tight end because he holds onto the ball. He's big and sturdy. I mean, I would think he's got to be a factor tonight. He's just got to be a factor tonight. Tico can tell you, tight ends have been a big factor at Michigan State for 1,000 years, right?
No, absolutely. We've had some fantastic tight ends, and it's really about that if they can block and catch.
Yeah.
You know, they have to block and catch. They can't be one-dimensional. And I think that Michigan State is kind of backwards right now. You normally have to set up to run to create the pass. But I think in this situation, we're setting up, we're passing to create the run. Yeah. And it's normally the other way around. So I would imagine Coach is going to work on that to dominate the line a little better, to flip it back.
How important is it, especially with you were more of a run-based offense, and we had Lorenzo White on with us earlier who said the exact same thing. The tight end plays a key role in the running game big time. You got to have somebody that's big and strong that can do their blocks. Who were your tight ends that helped you out?
I think the biggest and the one that stands out is Dwayne Young for me. Dwayne Young was a beast. He could block. He could catch. He was the perfect tight end for us. We had Mitch Lyons at one point. Yeah. Same thing. He could block, he could catch. And then that's just an extra dynamic player. If you're just one-dimensional as a tight end, you've pretty much taken that off of your offensive weapon.
Well, and for a minute, we were worried about that with Velling, too, with, his hand injury as well.
Yeah. Well, and he came in with a pretty good pedigree, following Jonathan Smith. And we didn't really get to see him play much last year, at least in the stat sheet. Obviously, he was on the field, but he didn't develop into the star that everybody, preseason All-America or whatever. This year started kind of slowly, too, and I kind of thought to myself, oh, boy, when's this poor fella going to be able to, and all of a sudden.
Because we heard Marsh, we were hearing Velling, press conference over and over. Where's he at?
Yeah. What impresses you the most about the Michigan State offense right now?
Right now, I think it's more of, they're trying, their effort, I guess would be the best way to say it. They're giving 100% effort. And last year, you wouldn't see 100%. You'd probably see 75, 80. So I think the effort, I see the best.
Aiden Shiles said at conferences, and Omari Kelly was there, but he wasn't here last year. But what Aiden said, the difference between last year and this year, he just flat out said this year the team wants it more.
There you go. That's the effort that you see. And you can tell. We should be tired of being last. We should be tired of being, that's Michigan State. Oh, boy. So it's getting our edge back. The last time we had this edge was when we were called Little Brother. And ever since that happened, D'Antonio made sure we were going to win Big Ten champs. We were going to be, here's Michigan State. We're the no-fly zone. We became all these things. And so that's what Coach Smith has to get this edge back some kind of way. Try
to find the happy medium between swagger and confidence and putting it out and let the ball do the talking.
Absolutely.
So, again, with the Spartans going up against USC tonight, not many people giving them a chance to win. Have you ever been in a situation like that in your days of playing?
Absolutely. We were playing Michigan in Ann Arbor in '90, and we didn't have the time of day. Desmond Howard, all those guys, this was a practice game for them. And we were number 8 in the country, so that means something.
Yeah.
And so we did. We had a boxing match, and we went in there, and we showed them that, there's a reason why we're in the top 10, and we beat them.
You ever get a chance to see Desmond and throw that in his face once in a while?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because during that time, Desmond would come down and hang out with me.
Oh.
And he wouldn't like being in Ann Arbor. He would come down and hang. Matter of fact, we switched shoes and did all that kind of stuff. And then when I was with the Redskins, he was playing with the Redskins, and we became more of a friend. So he's a great guy. I'm happy for his career and what he's doing.
I can't believe it. He crossed the line, Alexandra. He's friends with the Wolverine.
I mean, I can't really.
You got to keep your enemies close, right?
Well, we've discussed this up and down earlier this season, and we need to discuss it again today. Staying healthy and dealing with injuries brings us to the Wilson Heating and Cooling Spartan Injury Report.
GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lenox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right.
Spartans have some players that are pretty beat up, Tico, and of course, starting offensive lineman Luka Vincic gets a chance to come in and play. And now he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Alante Brown, who's done tremendous things on special teams, is looking like he's out for most of the season, if not all. One of the things that was said in the press conference from, I think, every player on both sides of the ball and Coach Smith was the need for stepping up, next man up mentality for the Spartans. How does that play into the mentality of the team?
That's the game of football. Right, that's the game of life.
Brotherhood.
You've got to come in there and try and do your best. If you get hurt, that's part of it. But there is someone that's always behind you, and they have to be ready. They have to be, and that's part of why you practice. That's part of why when you get the lead, you play people to get the minutes, and it's just part of football. And,
Do you think the players know that, or does a good coach have to constantly remind them just to make sure?
I think you definitely have to keep reminding them. These are 18, 19-year-old kids. They don't really grasp everything that's going on. And as a coach, you have to keep reminding the goals, expectations, what they're here for, and what's expected.
What do you think Spartan Nation should expect realistically out of this team right now in 2 years in under Jonathan Smith?
Sure. It's definitely going in the right direction. I expect 6 wins this year at the least in a bowl game. Then each year you up the ante. I think then next year they should be expecting to be in the top 5 in the Big Ten. And then continue to be number 1 in the Big Ten. I mean, that should be the goal from day one. And unfortunately, in our situation, you can't say, hey, we're looking to be national champions this year. You have to take those baby steps, bowl game, conference games, playoffs, and then you just got to keep building.
Have you had a variety of coaches, personality-wise? I know that back in the old days, you and I are on the same age. I feel like football coaches were all of the same ilk. Everybody was built. They were tough. They were mean. They were yelling at their players and stuff. Did you have a variety of personalities with your coaches growing up like we do now? Because we've seen 3 different types of personalities in the last 3 Spartan coaches rolling through here.
Well, what I found is a good team always has a good cop and a bad cop. You have to have the person that understands these are just kids. Then you have to have the person understand, I don't care if they're just kids. We need this. And I think that was part of the last time when George went to the Rose Bowl. He still had the Nick Saban attitude on the team, and then you had the George Perlis attitude. And between the two, they were good cop, bad cop. Mm-hmm. And so I just see that dynamic with good teams. You can't run kids all the time, but you have to, discipline them. So you got to have the good. It's almost like a home, the good cop, bad cop. Yeah. You got one parent that might be stern and the other parent that's lenient. And that's how a good, balanced team should have leaders.
Tim, go ahead and grab that mic. Who's the good cop and bad cop at home at your place?
I'm a little bit of both.
I knew that was coming.
Honest with you, one way or the other.
And we're about to see both sides of both, too.
I think it's different. One thing from the coaching staffs are so much larger today.
Mm.
I mean, I tell Brock all the time, I can remember the day with Duffy, he had 7 assistant coaches. They all went on to become head coaches somewhere. Today, they've got personnel directors, video directors, assistant video directors, a general manager.
Sure.
And then that doesn't count. Like when you talk about, you got to build up this or this, that. The only thing where I see is a massive red flag in there is name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
Because I don't care what any of these Michigan State players say, at the end of this season, the ones that stand out, somebody else with money looks at those guys. I'll just use Childs, who's 19, and I'll use Marsh, who loves Michigan State. But if Ohio State says you come here, you know where you're going to go in the NFL draft, and we're going to the playoffs and all that, I think the name, image, and likeness thing is still a huge factor in how these rosters are made and whether you can win or lose.
No, I agree, Tim. That goes back to loyalty. Nowadays, you just don't have the loyalty, and kids can bounce around from paycheck to paycheck, and it is ruining the game.
Yeah,
so,
it is. And that, Spartan Nation, is your GL Wilson Heating and Cooling Spartan Injury Report. GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lennox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right.
And looking across the table, I'm going, good cop, bad cop. I don't know. I think Tico's going to be a little more lenient if I come rolling in late at night. Tim's going to be standing there with his eyes on his watch.
What's going on here?
Let's see.
He's got that light on waiting for you.
Right. He does. This is the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV. We'll be back on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and Lansing's Big Talker 1240 WJIM. And our studios brought to you by Duckett Brothers Distributing.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Welcome back to the Lansing Sports Network Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV here on the Lansing Sports Network. Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's Big Talker. I'm Steve Goff, along with the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, Lansing Sports Network Spartan Insider, Alixzandra Jyawook, Brock Palmbush, keeping us on the air and connected behind the glass. We're live from our studios, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Hour 2 of the show rolls along, Tim. And let's break down the offensive and defensive keys to the game today, fueled by Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar. We'll start with the offense. Do you think the game gets out of hand early and MSU gives some stars some rest, or do they keep the pedal down? What's going to happen here?
Well, you make that sound as if Michigan State's going to run away with a lead. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would be surprised if that's the case. I mean, do I think they want to run the ball and run the clock? Yes. I mean, the best way to keep Southern Cal from scoring is just to go ahead and keep their offense off the field. Well, the easiest way to do that is to run it successfully. Mm-hmm. And again, if they do have to punt the ball, punt it one heck of a long way down the field there. But I think, look, what has worked for them? I don't think they're going to try something that they haven't done before necessarily. I think they want to do it better. Whether the running back and Marsh play at all or play some or play a lot but don't play at 100%, all of that remains to be seen.
Offensively speaking, though, the Spartans' offense, yes, we have not played a high-caliber team yet with a high-octane defense yet. But Michigan State seems to be able to move the ball at will. And admittedly, USC's defense is not their strength.
Well, they didn't move the ball at will in the second half against Western Michigan. They didn't score. So their offense was
But was that
game.
because they didn't open the playbook? I mean, I have to believe some of that was let's leave it in the locker room and not on the field.
Southern Cal's going to give them what Western Michigan and I mean, I don't think they've moved the ball at will that I've seen in the 3 games whatsoever. Have they had the plays they've had to me that have been the most successful are the couple they threw down the field to Marsh, but that was against Boston College's secondary, okay? And then Childs has been terrific on broken plays where he's been able to get outside, contain, because he's fast enough that not only can he get up the field 15 yards, he can get out of bounds, he doesn't get hit. If he goes into the middle, how many times has he been knocked out of the game? Twice. Both those plays are when he got knocked into the middle, and he got knocked out at Western Michigan, and he was down for a few minutes late against Boston College before he got up. If he can get outside the contain, and my guess is Southern Cal's defensive ends are probably better than anybody Michigan State has seen. You have to believe Southern Cal knows that to stop them on offense, we have to contain him within and force him to make plays up the middle, because it's when he's outside the contain in Spartan Stadium where he's been lethal. And he's made some terrific plays tonight than what they've played because they've practiced or not.
Well,
same thing with Southern Cal. Are they going to play better than what they played against Purdue? I mean, that's kind of the intrigue of the game, or any game, right?
In most sports, in my experience and what I've seen, is oftentimes teams have a tendency to play down to their opponent's caliber.
State does it all.
And in Michigan State,
State does it.
There are times when it happens on the basketball court, too, and that's when you see Coach Izzo's face turning different shades of red.
It's about the shade of my microphone.
Yes, that happens.
I mean, Childs has to be a big leader in this game. I mean, he's their guy.
Does that work against him because his adrenaline is going to be through the roof being back home in Southern California?
Well, right, and what we hope is that his decision-making, which we have seen in prior years, get challenged under pressure. So my hope is that with him being back home, him being on, his own territory, it's a little bit of a comfort blanket, if you will, to where he wants to prove something. He wants to have something to show, and that ego in a positive light comes out where he is leading that team from the front and not necessarily making those plays that are challenging his decision-making skills that then project onto the rest of the players.
And how much are they going to let him do? Are they going to curtail him because they don't trust him down the field? I don't know. I mean, I think State has got to look at this game as if we have nothing to lose by letting it all go wide open completely, which they may be doing anyway, because the 3 games they won, I don't know that they necessarily had it wide open. But now I'm not convinced that they have enough trust in their offense, player 1 to 11, that can do what they would like to do in a game like this.
Circling back to what I said at the very beginning, Tim, what I was getting at is if it gets out of hand, the opposite end of the ball.
You mean if Southern Cal gets a lead early?
Do the Spartan coaches leave Childs out there for a great length of time, the entire game or what have you, or do they give another – if it seems like it's getting out of hand, do they let somebody else go in?
I'd be surprised if he doesn't play most, if not the entire game or close to it. I mean, it would have to be 51-7 to get him out of there, in my opinion. I mean, he could get knocked out of the game. That can happen. But, the backup guy's only played, 2, 3, 4 plays? That's all he's ever played.
Mm-hmm.
If the game is massively out of reach, then you're going to get a lot of guys out of there because you got to get them healthy to go play at Nebraska. That's the other thing is it's one thing that you get off this game and you get a game you could win the next week. Well, Nebraska's got a bye week too after Michigan earlier today. So Nebraska's and that crowd will make it just as tough and all. I mean, look, it's a tough schedule. So I say the season to me starts tonight.
Yep.
They were going to win those 3. Mm-hmm. They barely won the second one, but they were going to. You can make a case they're going to be 3-0 just like they were a year ago, and they finished 5-7 because the season started in Game 4.
Yeah.
That's where the thing is right now. I don't necessarily buy the thought in the media that they're going to be an underdog in 8 of the 9 games that are left because there's too much to determine moving forward, teams going up and down. They're going to be a favorite against UCLA, clearly, on October 11th, the homecoming game. They'll be a favorite in that game. Now, whether they're a favorite against Minnesota and Iowa on the road remains to be seen.
Oof.
Let alone Michigan.
They deserve some respect.
Well, they'll either win and get it or lose and not. I mean, simple as that.
Well, let's talk about the other side of the ball, Tim. What does MSU's defense need to do
They've
for the
got to
defensive
get some
keys?
pressure on that quarterback. They can't commit penalties, which is easy to say. They haven't really made a lot of penalty mistakes so far. So they got to stick to that. But, again, it's hard for me with a lot of these games when you're going from the talent of Youngstown State at home to the talent of Southern Cal on the road. Because maybe you didn't have to hold the guy to get him for Youngstown State because he's not as fast as you are. But what if this guy's faster than I did to prevent a play? I got to hold the guy because you're a competitor. You got to do what you got to do to help my team.
If you ain't holding, you ain't trying. Isn't that what the offensive linemen always say?
Well, I think State's going to play hard. They'll play hard. They're prepared. They practice. They're not playing this to lose. Don't get me wrong. They're not playing this game to lose. But you got 22 guys on the field as starters. Those guys, you need about all 22 of them plus the punter and kicker, to play. And if it's a field goal, does the guy make it or miss it? Does he make it or miss it? I mean, that's a factor, right?
Right.
So,
and like we talked about before, Ryan Eckley's going to be a big part of this too, and that's on the defensive side of the ball.
If they haven't been able to get a pass rush on Youngstown State, why are they going to get a pass rush on Southern Cal? And yet, that's what they frankly have got to do.
Do you remember the year that Michigan State played against Michigan and they had Devin Gardner in there who had been beating everybody, and then Michigan State came in and knocked him around a little bit?
Well, that was a very physical Michigan State team, and that was a good team. That was an established team. If you could have jockeyed this schedule around a little bit and got these guys after you'd played Nebraska first and had a road game for experience before going out there, I think that might have helped them a little bit because until you're in that arena and in that setting with all that, that Southern Cal band plays da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I mean, that's all you're going to hear all night long on TV is that Trojan thing that they do because, look, it's a big deal there like it is here, too.
Yeah.
They got the coach writing everybody to come out for the game.
Yeah, he sent an email out to the whole Southern Cal. That job's got pressure too.
Sure.
And and he's been under pressure since he got out of Oklahoma, and they're off to a good start now because I think the portal helps Southern Cal too. Everybody complained like Brock's telling everybody they don't play any defense. They don't play any defense. Well, he knew that. Because the games they lost, they gave up too many points. Well, now they've addressed that.
Yeah.
But now they haven't played. Remember, now they haven't played anybody either. Purdue's the toughest team they've played so far. So that means that, I would think Southern Cal thinks no matter what, Michigan State's the best team we've played so far.
With the math being what it is, you look at that team and you said earlier you don't think Purdue is better than Michigan State.
No.
So with that logic, it should be a tighter game between USC and Michigan State, all things being considered.
If they all play to their ability.
Right.
But it's sports. They'd always, maybe Southern Cal won't play to its ability. What if Southern Cal's quarterback gets hurt? What if that running back goes out?
Right.
He's going to bring my fantasy football mentality of, hoping something happens to a player, right?
Well, that could happen. That's football.
I say that
the NFL's had 5 quarterbacks go out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so that can happen. So it is what it is, right?
Boy, oh boy. It's a lot going on, Alexandra. Lots of moving parts.
There sure is. And you know what? Don't worry. I've got my Red Bull here. I've got, actually, this is, Nalani? We've got some treats and tricks up our sleeves. We're staying awake. I'm not Tim Staudt. Tim, love you, my buddy. But we're not going to bed.
Your keys to the game fueled by Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar, and the Spartans are hoping to deliver on both sides of the ball today. We're going to deliver your weather update and be back with more when the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV, continues live from the Lansing Sports Network studios on Pine Tree Road, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing on Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and Lansing's Big Talker 1240 WJIM continues.
Back now, it's the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV in the remote broadcast booth, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Here's Tim Staudt, Steve Goff, and Alixzandra Jyawook.
Back for our final segment on the Lansing Sports Network Spartan Tailgate Show, presented by Price Right RV, and in the studios here on Pine Tree Road, powered by Duckett Brothers Distributing. Steve Goff, Alixzandra Jyawook, and Tim Staudt, and here we are ready to wrap it up. Number 25 USC, fresh off a 2-touchdown victory over a mediocre Purdue team, and wins over Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Not necessarily the most daunting of schedules. Michigan State with victories over Western Michigan, Boston College, and Youngstown State as quarterback Aiden Childs returns home to Southern California. Michigan State, kind of like USC, hasn't really been pushed to the limits by their schedule just yet, Alexandra. So to that end, they've had a pretty level playing field getting to where they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, the season really does start now, and so our performance, going into tonight's game really does set the tone. And, Tim brought up an interesting point earlier that it would have been nice on a reverse end to have us going to Nebraska first. That's, a familiar stadium in our conference. And it also wouldn't have been such a shock to the time zone aspect. But we will have, some challenges going into USC tonight. I'm hoping that they try to play us like Purdue, but our O-line meets them and is a big, giant surprise for them. Because if we can stabilize our current lineup, we can lean on the run game to shorten possessions and protect our defense, which we know is the weaker link of the two, and keep USC's speedy and athletic defense on the sideline. That's going to be the big play here that is going to allow us the upper advantage.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. USC comes in here tonight as a 17.5-point favorite last I looked. That's a lot. That's a big number. But not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, they are a powerful offense. On the other hand, something that I mentioned earlier is over the years, there have been a couple of different times, probably in the last 10 or 12 years, where Michigan State has either gone to the Big House or right here at Spartan Stadium as an underdog.
Right.
And just, holy cow, the Spartans showed up to play.
Yeah.
I think this needs to have a big game mentality to them.
Well, I agree, and I'd like to see them play and channel some of that energy that some of their predecessors left on the field. I mean, we did win with Connor Cook. We did win the Rose Bowl. We've been in this stadium before. We also have, looking at some of those big games, right, the trouble with the snap play that I jokingly alluded to earlier. But also, this is Aiden Childs' home state. So I'm hoping that, again, he channels that energy, finds comfort in his state, finds a familiar place. So, yes, it is not necessarily a home advantage, but our not necessarily number one player, but the player that this game centers around knows this environment, knows this time zone. So if we can see him step up and continue to be the leader that he's been this season, that translates to the other players. We have strong communication. Even if we're sitting there with the next man up mentality and we're rotating players and we don't necessarily have his familiar wide receivers and his familiar tight ends that are watching out for him, we can still have his positivity, his confidence, because he knows the state, he knows the field, he almost knows the fans, be able to translate into their performance. So even though it's not necessarily a familiar relationship that he's throwing to or that is protecting him, he still feels safe knowing that his team is supportive of him and has his back.
100% agree. When you see Aiden Childs in post-game interviews or what have you, his
demeanor's changed since last season.
He's more confident, I think, and more okay in the. He's got a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence, which I love. But he's pretty even-keeled. Mm-hmm. I think maybe he's going to go up a notch energy-wise, and probably feel it a little bit more being in his home.
Yeah, I like to see that. I think that he kind of got humbled a bit last year with his Bet on Me interview at the very beginning of the season. But you bring that energy. I'm okay with you bringing that energy tonight, because that means that he feels good. He knows this plays. He knows this team has his back. And I think, again, because we've had 3 games under our belt where we have seen multiple players on the field and not just the same guys that would almost provide a disadvantage when we are looking at such an injured team right now, we could be in good hands, and that 17.5 point spread could look a little bit different.
Regardless of the outcome of tonight's game, good, bad, or otherwise, I think Aiden Childs' leadership is going to be a huge factor, and how they respond and how they come back when it's time to play ball again in a couple weeks against Nebraska is going to be a huge deal.
Absolutely, I would agree.
All right. So, with that being said, your thoughts on their options and opportunities tonight?
Well, number one, we have to win the turnover battle, and we also need to make sure that we're dominating the time of possession, and that really does, again, come back down to our O-line. I need them to have their head in the game. I think that we need to have some of our star players continue to show up in the ways that they have been to be able to give Aiden the support that he needs. Matt Goblin, I'm looking at you. But that being said, in terms of score, I'm thinking 16-24.
24-16, 23-20 for me. That's my prediction. I'm not going to say which or who.
Right.
Because I think it's a toss-up. I really do. Evenly matched teams. That's where I'm going with this. And that's a wrap for the Spartan Tailgate Show on the Lansing Sports Network, powered by Price Right RV. Lots to soak in. It's almost time for kickoff. Thanks to my co-host, the Dean of Sports, Tim Staudt, the longest tenured sports broadcaster in the state. Lansing Sports Network's Alixzandra Jyawook as well. Brock Palmbush rocking the ones and twos behind the glass. And make sure you look for us, by the way, on Facebook, YouTube, X, and more. Producer Tim doing a great job with our social media. Give us a follow. I'm Steve Goff. Keep listening to find out when to join us again for our next show, which will be Saturday, October 4th against Nebraska for another edition of the Lansing Sports Network Tailgate Show, powered by Price Right RV. Thanks to our additional sponsors for making today's show possible.
Coors Light presented to chill or not to chill. Choose chill, choose Coors Light for the party.
Duckett Brothers Distributing. We never drop the ball on your business janitorial needs.
Our friends over at Ohana Asian American Sushi Restaurant and Bar.
Shupan Recycling. As leaders in metal and plastic processing at Shupan, our commitment to a better world goes beyond recycling.
Playa Bowls. Grab your friends and dive into Playa Bowls, where the beach meets the bowl.
Feldman Chevrolet, rush into the end zone in a brand new Equinox. Feldman Chevrolet of Lansing, together, let's drive.
And our friends over at GL Wilson Heating and Cooling in Lenox, because comfort, like football, is best enjoyed when everything runs right.
And now stay tuned on the Lansing Sports Network, Classic Rock 94.9 MMQ and 1240 WJIM, Lansing's big talker for the Spartan Media Network's pregame coverage of MSU on the road with USC. They'll take you all the way up to kickoff at 11 with George Blahan, play-by-play, along with J.U. Kalkrick. And until next time, for all of us, the Lansing Sports Network Tailgate Show, brought to you by Price Right RV. Go green.
Go white, Steve.